All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Ron Wheeler, and I'm glad to welcome you to our class, How to Generate 3% per month with one option trade per week. Boy, as soon as I started talking, I had to cough. So sorry about that. I had to mute my microphone for a second. But I did start the class just a little bit early. I'm not going to start the official presentation until 5 o'clock, so don't worry. But I do like to just open up the room, make sure everything is working. So thanks for being a few minutes early, and then you can help me make sure that everything is working. So this is going to be a great webinar. So I'm really excited to share a lot of this with you. This is kind of like the backbone of how I invest and trade. So I'm really excited to share that with you. Hopefully you're excited to be here as well. Do me a favor, find the chat screen or the question box. If you can see the screen that says on air, and if you can hear my voice, you can see the screen, just do me a quick favor and type yes into the chat, or just anything really. Just let me know that you can definitely hear me. That way I know that all is working well. And then we're breaking in a new go-to meeting thing, so we're all confused by everything too. So all right, I see William, I see Eric, I see, who else do I see? I see Craig and Douglas and Evan and Jeff and Gregory and Jesse and John. Two Johns, John H, John L. I see Lawrence, Paul, I see Richard, Robert. All right, good. See lots of folks out there. Good to know that everything is working as I hoped it would be. Do me a favor, just kind of while we're chatting, what time is it by you? Just kind of wondering where, we get most of our folks from. I'm in Ohio. I'm born and raised in Ohio. I lived out of state for like 2 years once in Michigan, but pretty much born and raised in Ohio, still live in Ohio. Actually have a house that's right across the fairway from the house that I grew up in. Well, not all the way grew up, but like my high school years and graduated from high school there. So haven't moved too far from home. I work for VectorVest, of course. We have an office in Ohio and we have an office in North Carolina. So I'm in the Ohio office. Pretty much all of my colleagues are in the North Carolina office because, what can I say? They like to be in North Carolina. All right. I see some Central Times, William. I see Eric at 4:57. So yeah, I'm in the Eastern time frame as well. I see some West Coast times. I didn't really hear any. I didn't see in our earlier presentation today. We didn't have anybody earlier, mainly because it was at noon. So that'd be like 9 on the East side or East Coast, West Coast. I mean. So see, I'm already tripping over my words. Fortunately, I get over that before we get too much farther. See lots of folks now joining us from the Pacific time frame, California, Vancouver. Cool. So lots of folks joining us as it's getting a little bit more in the evening time there. And then also, just for the heck of it, kind of wondering, what do you do for a living? Are you retired? Do you still work? The techniques that I'm actually going to teach you today, I actually created this, go figure, for the retirement minded investor. Someone who doesn't want to be in front of their computer for 8 hours a day, that wants to create an income source using their investments. So I found out over the years, though, that, I've taught people in this class from 14 years old, where a dad bought it for his son. He wanted him to learn how to trade and make money in the markets, because that's what he did. I've had 90-year-olds in here. So I've kind of determined over the years that this isn't really all about retirement. This is just about creating additional income. And that's really something that any age wants to do for the most part. But I'm just kind of curious to see the demographics, if you will, if I can find the chat box. All right, wait, it's weird. Okay. Eric, Infotech, trying to retire in the next 5 years. I like it. IT consultant. I actually have an IT degree, so I know the IT world. Well, to be fair, I don't know the IT world a ton. I worked in IT for like 4 years, and then I left IT and I went into the trading side of the trading business. So I don't know it too well. I was Windows, NT, Novell, that kind of stuff. So that tells you how far back I go. Retired. So still lots of retired, lots of working folks as well. So like I said, a good mix. I always like having a good mix for these things. It's good to see how everybody reacts to how we do this. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. It is 5 o'clock Eastern time. It's time to get started. So let's go ahead and officially do it. I want to welcome all of you today to our webinar titled How to Generate 3% per month with one option trade per week. I'm excited that you're here because, again, this webinar is going to teach you my bread and butter trade to generate income. It's something I place multiple times a week personally with all of my clients. I'm going to show you today how you can turn as little as 15 minutes a week into consistent income. Doesn't matter what the market does. So stay with me because what you're going to learn today can transform your financial future, just like it has for me and hundreds of my students. But I do want to ask a quick question before we start because I want to get a feel for where you are. Now, remember, the session's live. It's April 22nd. It's 5 o'clock. So interact with me with the chat. In the chat box, I want you to give me a number 1, 2, 3, or 4. Type a 1 if you would describe your current income system as non-existent. In other words, you don't have a way to generate consistent income. 2 if it's just trickling in. It's nowhere near enough. Type 3 if it's there, but it's inconsistent and you need more. And then type 4 if it's a steady flow. You might have multiple income streams that you could turn on, maybe turn off if you don't need them anymore when you need to, and that provide plenty of extra money. So again, just kind of rate yourself 1, 2, 3, and 4. Kind of curious to see where everybody's at. All right. I think I see a 1. Like I said, we're breaking in this new version of GoToMeeting, so it's really weird. I see Richard 1, Eric 3, Robert 3, 1, John, William 3, 1, 3, Priyesh 3, Jeff. All right, cool. So I'm just reading a couple of them. John 1. All right, so here's the cool part. If you're a 1, 2, 3, you're in the right spot. No doubt about it. Even if you're a 4, though, I'm going to bet you're going to learn how to increase your existing income and how to do it with less risk and less time spent. So in this seminar, you are going to see how you can begin making a paycheck averaging 3% per month or more. Keeping in mind, you can do it regardless of market direction. You can do it with little to no prior experience with options. You can do it safer than just buying or selling stocks, and it's something that you can implement quickly. One of my recent students sent me this email and he said, "Hey Ron, I just want to send you a quick email to thank you and your team for the SPX Paycheck course back in September. I've been using this method and tracking my performance, and I thought you'd like to see the results. I entered my first 35 Delta trade with only $5,000 margin, $5,000 in my margin account. Now, less than 3 months later, I'm already up 24.5%. Thanks again. I'll be teaching this method to my retired in-laws to help them grow their income in retirement." Listen, you don't get better emails than that. I love hearing it. But there's also a lesson in here for you. You don't need to have 100 grand, 200 grand, 500 grand. Carrie started with $5,000, starting small. You can start small while you learn and practice because it builds up quickly. What's 3% a month of 5,000? $150, right? Starting small, building it slowly. But listen, starting small and you average that 3%, compounded over 15 years puts you over $1 million. If you started with 25,000, you'd be near $1 million after 10 years. You're looking at some serious money. Now, clearly, if you have more than $5,000 or $25,000, you're going to get there much, much faster. Now, some of my clients were kind enough to share their photos and their stories with you. We're going to talk about a few of them today. These are real people just like you. As I teach you the system today and share their stories, I want you to pay close attention because you might find that you're in a very similar position now as they were when they started. Now, here's how we laid out today's webinar. The first part of today's webinar, I'm going to show you the strategic shift that's necessary to generate consistent income. Then, I'm going to show you the 3 big mistakes that you need to avoid. In fact, by knowing what these mistakes are and that thousands of other traders out there are making them, you're going to be in a prime position to profit. We're going to talk about things like strike prices and expiration dates and how to pick them correctly. Then in the third section, I'm going to show you how to set up your income trades with very low risk. Type a yes in the chat if you've ever been told that selling options was risky. Pardon me. Yeah, I mean, again, that's a basic thing. And then we're going to show you how to do it the right way, though. So there's even lower risk than buying a stock. Then I'm going to lay out the 6-step paycheck system we follow here at VectorVest to generate income. This is different than what others will teach you. So I'll walk you through it today. And then throughout the session, I'll mix in some case studies of our clients who are doing this. And again, you might find one of them are like you. And then I know there's a ton of great information. There is in today's webinar. So it's going to be a big benefit to stay till the end. And if you do, I put together a checklist to help you plan out your trade. It's a PDF that we created. We'll throw it in the handout section, go to webinar. Just remind me when we get to the Q&A section because a lot of times after an hour I forget. Now also, I love to interact during the webinar because we get so much more out of it. There's going to be several times throughout the webinar where I'm going to ask you some questions. So let's interact back and forth. Now, keep in mind, there's only so much we can cover in about an hour. So throughout the session, I'm going to mention some things you can do after the webinar. that you can do to continue your education and really start implementing this very quickly. But we'll talk about that more at the end. But I guarantee this is going to be 1 hour packed information. So if you're good with that, you're ready to go, do me a favor. Just give me a quick yes in the chat box. Just want to make sure everything is still working. All right. Yes, yes, yes. Eric, William, Prius, you guys were the first three, so I'm going to call you guys out. All right, perfect. Why is this such an important topic, this whole income thing? Well, without an income system, financial stress is your companion. It's constant, right? It creates a number of problems for us. When you might feel stuck working longer than planned, or you're stressed worrying about running out of money. You might be depleting your savings faster than you can fill it, especially with how prices have gone so much, since COVID, right? If things don't improve, you may fear you'll continue to have losses that draw down your account. You'll get behind in your goals, maybe even question your ability as an investor. You might even fear you'll have to give up on investing and go back to work. Worst case scenario, you'll run out of money during retirement. However, with the options paycheck system to help you generate income, you can break free of this. It's designed to help you generate income safely, consistently, and in less than 15 minutes a day. And I think this is probably the most important point of the webinar. So pay attention, pay close attention, and write this down. In order to be financially free, our main need is income. But to be financially free, you need to learn to generate enough income from your investments to cover your expenses and lifestyle needs. So I'll say that again. To become financially free, you need to learn to generate enough income from your investments to cover your expenses and lifestyle needs. So whether you're still working or retired, the ability to generate income from your investments is one of the most empowering skill sets you can have. Because when you have the ability to generate income from your investments, your life will change. If you're still working, you increase your earning capacity. It's like having a second job. If you're retired, you can have a consistent source of income as if you quit your job, but they kept paying you. It's like a tap you can turn on whenever you want. That's going to allow you to do the things you want to do now and when you retire. When you got a system to help you generate income, it can help you retire younger. So as I said, I think this is one of the most important points of the presentation, so I'll say it again. When the income from your investments exceeds your living expenses, you become financially free. For example, Brian is a client of ours. Great example of how easy you can become proficient at drawing in income from the market, even if you don't want to invest a lot to begin with. Now, Brian had some health problems. He needed a way to supplement his income. By using our options paycheck system, he was able to generate $23,000 in profits, starting with just $6,000. In 10 months, he said he had 100% winning trades, 31 of 31 winning trades using our most basic system. Now, the key point of this was not beginner's luck. It's the result of following the system. It's the system that helped Brian get 100% winning trades and create that $23,000 in profit, starting with just $6,000 in 10 months safely. So if you want to get there, the first thing you need to know to generate income with options is a bit of a strategic mindset shift. You're either going to continue being the gambler where you lose more than you win, or you're going to become an option seller and win more than you lose. Becoming an option seller is the way you can make consistent income, and it allows you to win even when you're wrong. Now, why do you want to be the casino or the house? It's number one, the house always wins, right? At the end, you've heard that expression. Number two, they win because they control and stack probability or outcomes in their favor. Just like the house or the casino, the options paycheck system is built around you stacking the odds massively in your favor. So make a note of this. In order to control your returns and results, you need to know how to stack probability in your favor. So the obvious question is, how do we do it? Well, the first step is that shift from being the buyer of options to being the seller. So let me explain. Bruce, by the way, is a great example of that shift from gambling on stocks to being the casino and controlling and stacking probability in his favor. He said prior to working with us, he had mainly taken stock tips from brokers. Bruce focused on our SPX income system, and this is our basic trading system. He said he's not the most technical person in the world. But in the time he's been working with us, he's grown his trading account from 100,000 to 497,000 in 3.5 years. He's achieving a 74% win percentage, simply by following the rules of the options paycheck system. And the whole system, he said, takes him around 15 minutes a day. So let me show you how this works. Here's an example of a typical trade you've been taught to make. You find a stock that you like, you think it'll go up, so you buy shares of it. Or you can buy a call option, right? Call is basically kind of equal to buying stock. If a stock goes up, the price of your call goes up, you make money, right? Why do we buy call options? Well, for that reason, of course. And mainly, it's one of the basic things you did when you started learning options, right? Stock goes up, I buy a call. Well, what's happening a lot of times when you do that? Either the stock doesn't go up, or worse, it doesn't go up enough, and that call you bought ends up expiring worthless. Has it ever happened to you? Yes? Well, what's the problem that's causing you to lose? Most people feel the problem is, well, maybe they picked the wrong stock, or maybe it was the wrong option strike price, or maybe they chose the wrong expiration. But let's talk about the real problem. If you've been losing money or had more losers than winners with other systems, it's not your fault. That's because most of the systems on the planet teach you to be on the wrong side of the trade. You're taught to buy an option, but as a buyer, the probabilities are not on your side. And for most people, they end up buying and losing and buying and losing and buying and losing. Our options paycheck system teaches you a new way of thinking. You need to be a seller and not a buyer, because this is how you get ahead of everyone else. This is how we put probability on our side, and it allows us to win even if you're wrong. So let's take a closer look at how selling options works. As a buyer, let's start there. A typical trade would give you a 50-50 chance to be a winner, right? Because when you buy something, the only way you make money is if the stock moves in your direction. So instead of having this buyer's mentality, you're going to have a seller's mentality. So instead of hoping a stock just goes up, as a seller, you're going to strategically set up your trade using probability, because probability will tell you where the stock is not likely to go. So instead of needing the stock to go in your direction, we can pick a price underneath the stock. We think the stock's going to go up and says, hey, as long as the stock doesn't go down to that level, we can make money. So think about that. You pick a price below the stock price. If the stock goes up, you make money just like normal. But now, if the stock stays sideways, we can still profit. And as long as the stock stays in that green area, that means it can come down a little bit as well. We can still make money. So right from the very beginning of the trade, probability is in your favor. And you can even increase that probability more. We can choose a lower price, which would give you a bigger area where you can be right. We start a lot of our trades off with a 70% chance of success, and you can only do this as an option seller. As a seller, you're putting the probability of success in your favor. This is the definition of an income trade. An income trade is one where you can make money even if we're wrong on direction. Now, do you remember Bruce? Bruce continues to trade with us every week in our coaching. In fact, he posted in our private group and said, another day of trading on the beach. Got my eyes on AMC and a cold beer. Life's good. Thank you, VectorVest and Ron, for giving us the tools to do what we do from anywhere. That right there is a great picture of being financially free. Now, another client of ours was Mike. He dabbled with options, but said he lost on each of his trades. Have you ever been there? Can you imagine how frustrating that's got to be to lose on each of your trades? Eventually, he gave it up. He tried to learn more about options, but said he never felt comfortable that he knew what he was doing. He had all this knowledge, but no like set criteria of how to use it, right? Mike and I worked together. I taught him the options paycheck system, being an option seller, and he said he became immediately like an income machine. He learned the system, he immediately implemented it, and went out and said he had 17 out of 19 winning trades with a profit of over $12,000 in 4 months. The key lesson is going from buyer or gambler to the seller or the house. That turned his situation around. He was even so proud of his success that he sent over a spreadsheet of his trades. Now, I'm going to grab my laser pointer and take a look over here. Take a look at the profit column. A lot more profits, a lot less losses. Okay, that's typical. Look at the work days to close. 7, 5, 4, 2, 7, 7, 10, 7, 10. The typical trade that we do lasts about 7 to 10 calendar days. Okay, that's typical. He's pulling in about $1,000 every 7 to 10 days. And If you're like Mike and a lot of our new students, you can start really beginning by trading the S&P 500, pardon me. That's the index that tracks the S&P 500. This involves only one trade per week and has averaged a little over 2% per month from the last decade. You're not just learning how to trade options, you're creating a future where your income grows without adding hours to your day. Imagine turning your financial stress into confidence, knowing your money is working harder than ever, even when you're not. You're not looking for one big home run trade to become a millionaire overnight. You're growing your account steadily each year. And that's the key takeaway. We're going to have a couple of good takeaways today. This is one of our keys. Home runs look good, right? Millionaire overnight from one trade, but singles are what win the games overall. These singles are what will enable you to never run out of money and to be able to do all the things that you want to do. So, you've seen by flipping from buyer to seller, we can start to stack the odds significantly in your favor. Now, we're going to continue to stack the odds further in your favor by understanding and capitalizing on the three most common buyers or gamblers' mistakes. Mistake number one is that option buyers choose unrealistic strikes. They choose strikes that are so far away the stock has no chance of hitting it. I want you to think about it this way. Here's a stock. Stock's trading at $217 a share. If I came to you and said, hey, the stock's at $217, do you want to buy it from me at $230 instead? You'd look at me like I was crazy. However, a lot of option buyers do that. They'll go up way up here and say, oh, I'm going to buy a call at 230 bucks, $15, $20 above the market. Why would they do something like that? They do it because the option premiums are very cheap up there, right? They're very inexpensive. But those options have a very small chance of seeing any profits as a buyer because the stock has a very little chance of going that high. These guys are treating options like lottery tickets. Most of the time, they're going to lose. Now, since there's always going to be buyers out there who are buying these options, you may as well be the one to sell it to them, right? And since that option has a low probability of getting hit, that means the stock goes to 230, you have a high probability of winning. And the same goes for puts. There's always going to be people out there who buy puts down here as lottery tickets or cheap insurance. Listen, it doesn't matter why they're buying the puts. The fact is, there will always be buyers out there who are buying these options. And since there's buyers out there that are doing it, you may as well be the one to sell it to them. Because when you sell them those options, it gives you a 60 to 90% probability of success right from the start of the trade. Now, the second mistake that buyers make is they buy options that have expirations that are way too close to the current market or the current date. It's like when you go to the grocery store and you see a piece of steak that's like half off. Well, it's half off because if you don't go home and cook it that night, it's going to expire and rot. Same is true for options. So I'm going to walk you through this. This is a graph essentially of option time decay. So here we are here about 6 months to expiration. This is the value, the time value of the option. Notice that as we get closer to expiration, which is in the lower right-hand corner, you start to lose your time value slowly and slowly. And this is real money. This is price losing. You're losing money on the option on price, on time decay alone. Right about here at 45 days to expiration. So 135 days has passed. The option has lost about half of its value. But look at the next leg. In the last 45 days or so, the price really drops off. The pricing decline gets exponential. 135 days to lose half the value of the time, 45 days to lose the rest. Now, a lot of option buyers, they're going to be buying options in this window down here because guess what? They're cheaper options. They've lost most of their value. Well, that's going to stack probability against them because they're giving themselves less time for the stock to do what they want it to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to capitalize on that mistake, and we are going to sell options in that window. Now, to be more specific, we're going to be selling options between 21 and 45 days to expiration. That's our options paycheck system sweet spot. So keep that in mind. Put that in your head. 21 to 45 days of expiration. Let me put it to you another way. This is a graph of Home Depot. Maybe you think the stock will go up. Well, maybe you'll choose an expiration about 35 days away. Well, even if the stock goes up, underneath it, the option's going to lose all of its time value. Now, when an option loses value, think about this with anything you buy, right? You buy a car, you pay 50 grand for a car, you drive it off the lot, it's worth 30,000 bucks, right? It lost value. That's terrible for you, right? However, if you're the car dealer and I'm the one that sold you the $50,000 car, now I can buy it back from you for 30 and sell it for 35 again, or even 50 again. Guess what? I'm the hero. Well, maybe not to you, but the hero of making money, I should say, right? It's the same idea. We're going to sell an option, let the decay happen, and close it out later for a lower price, pocketing the difference. That's how it's going to work. Let the time decay work in your favor. You're selling an option. Let the value drop exponentially. Remember, there's always going to be people buying options that have expiration dates too close. You may as well be the one who sells those options to them. Let them be the gambler. You be the casino. You will win in the end. Now, the third mistake that buyers make is paying too much. They buy what's called an overpriced option. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. This is a big one, and not a lot of people recognize this. Here's two stocks. I want you to look at the top. On the left, you got a stock that's trading at 76.24. On the right, you got a stock that's trading at 76.36. So basically the same price, within 12 cents. Even though both stocks are the same price, look at the difference in option prices. Over on the left, if you were to buy the same call, 75, same expiration July, that option is going to cost you $9.10, $910. Over on the right, that option is going to cost you $1.80 or $180. No tricks here. Same stock price, same strike price, same expiration. One option is over 4 times more expensive. Why? Because the option on the left has extremely high volatility. That leads to the option being extremely overpriced. Buyers who pay this are paying too much. Well, what's the big deal, right? You want something hot, like I use cars for an example. You want the hot car, you're going to pay over dealer sticker, right? Who cares? You're going to go home and enjoy the car. You don't care about depreciation. This is different, okay? You bought these options because you want the stock to go up. You want to make money here. Watch what happens. Stock goes up $8 a share. Okay, we're gonna show you what happens to the price of the options if the stock goes up $8 a share. Over on the left, you lost money. You got direction right, and you lost money. Over on the right, you got about a 400% return on your money. Think about that. The option buyer on the left got the trade right, but they still lost money. Why? Because the high volatility made the option too expensive, the buyer paid way too much for the premium, and the stock was not able to overcome it. Now, this is about buyers' mistakes. We're going to take this mistake and we're going to put it to our advantage. We're going to seek out these high volatility options and sell them. Why? Couple reasons. Number one, think about it, right? We're going to sell the option because the premiums are really, really high. That's great, right? Really, really high. That means we're going to make more money. And the higher the premiums are, the more probability we can use. I'll show you an example of this later. So as an option seller, we can take advantage of this, give us more room to be wrong on direction, make more money, stacking probability even more on our side. Now, Bob is one of the most interesting stories I've seen. He said prior to working with us, he was making a bunch of the mistakes we talk about here, and it cost him dearly. In fact, he ended up either broke or bankrupt 3 times. In his own words, he said he came close to living under a bridge. The options paycheck system helped him turn his situation around, and he said as little as 4 months. He learned to turn those mistake liabilities into strategies to control and stack probability in his favor. In 4 months, he grew his account by 71% and achieved a 79% winning trade percentage. Remember, in order to control your returns and results, you need to know how to control and stack probability in your favor. Well, I'm going to turn this over to you. Let me ask you, in the chat box, I want you to respond. Have any of you made any of these buyer's mistakes in the past? Just give me a quick yes or no in the chat. And I just have to find my chat, like I always do. All right, yes, 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 yep. Oh, we got a no in there. All right. Well, high percentage, right? High percentage are going to make the S's. So listen, if you've traded options before, there is like a 99% chance that you've made one of these buyer's mistakes. I've done it in the past. Most of the people I know have done it. Listen, it's not your fault. You were just simply taught a broken system. Now, hopefully by this point, you know, or you're very intrigued about this whole idea of option selling. You're going to avoid and capitalize on those mistakes that buyers make. Let's now take a look at how to trade with very little risk, because when a lot of people hear the word options, and especially selling options, they think it's immediately risky. However, the options paycheck system uses a low risk strategy for selling options. This is why it's a core strategy we teach our retirees. Now, why is reducing risk so important? Because most people who don't use the options paycheck system, they're not preserving their capital. They have one bad trade come in and wipe out the gains from a bunch of winners. We don't do that. We've never had that happen. You want to know why? We would never put ourselves in that situation, right? And when that happens, when you suffer those large losses, it's so hard, it takes a long time to recover. But when you do it right with the right system in place, you're going to have a built-in protection plan. You're going to take care of risk management before you even open the trade. And when you can select the right stock, set up your trades in ways that reduce risk, it allows you to preserve and grow your capital. Like I said earlier, home runs look good, but singles are what win the games. Now, one of the most common questions we get asked is, can I trade options from an IRA? Well, a client of ours, John, he actually does. And he made over 112% in 1 year in his IRA using the options paycheck system. He had tried and struggled with trading for some time before working with us. He learned to follow the system, and he turned his inconsistent results into predictable monthly income. He said in 12 months, he had 85% winning trades and more than doubled the size of his IRA while spending no more than 15 minutes per day on his trading. Now, the options paycheck system makes sure you reduce your risk before you even open the trade. First, we're going to choose stocks that are low risk. We have a very specific criteria, but in general, if we're bullish, we start by focusing on good stocks that are already rising in price. Kind of like what you see here, lower left to upper right kind of thing, right? Then, instead of selling an option naked, we're going to sell that option with protection. So let me show you how to do this. Now, a traditional option selling system leaves you with all this risk down here. And frankly, buying a stock is going to leave you with the same risk. Because if you buy this stock for 138 and the next day, for some weird reason, the stock opens up at $100, you're going to take a crushing loss, right? So whether you sell an option or you buy the stock, you could still have a catastrophic loss. That's not acceptable to me. Let's talk about how to do this without that catastrophic loss. We're going to shrink our risk to just that level right there. That's it. Here's how this works. This again is a graph of a typical stock we'd be bullish on. It's a beautiful graph, so it's understandable to be bullish on a stock that looks like this. Now, traditionally, people would go out, they would buy the stock here. They may even buy a call and use that as the strike price. Now, remember, you're not the buyer anymore. You're the seller. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go below the price of the stock, and you are going to sell a put. When you sell that put, you are going to receive premium. Okay? In this case, let's say $200 for every option contract you sold. Let's say you sold 10 contracts. You would receive $2,000, right? That's great. But if the stock has a catastrophic loss, that option is going to kill you, right? You sold it for $2,000. Now that option's worth like $40,000 and you got to cover it. It's terrible. You can't have that. So what we want to do is put some protection in here. We're going to reduce the risk to just this amount. How do we do it? We're going to use some of the premium that we collected, and we are going to buy a put a little lower than the put that we sold as protection. Okay? Now, that protection plan, again, costs you something. We're going to use a little bit of the money that we received when we sold the put, 200, and buy the insurance, in this case, for 100. That's going to leave you with $100 when you place the trade. That's the most money you can make. If you did it on 10 contracts, you'd be able to make $1,000, right? There's no money out of pocket. You get paid to place the trade. Now, what this does, if the stock goes up, we make money. The options start to lose their value. You can exit the trade at a lower price, cover the position. If the stock goes sideways, we still make money. As long as we stay above the pink line, we make money. And if we drop below the pink line, we exit the trade just like any other trade and take a small proportional loss. That's it. All right, let's do this. Let's set up a trade. I'm going to use an example of a trade I did with my clients to help you kind of understand how to set them up. So I'm going to show you some numbers, so make sure you're going to listen to this. Pay attention because I'm going to give you some key elements here. First thing I want to say is this. We trade in the direction of the market. So if the market is bullish, it is right now, in fact, we are trading bullish. We just got off a bearish streak. I was trading bearish for like the last month and a couple of weeks when the market fell. Now we're trading bullish. I'm going to give you another tip. We are going to set up trades by picking option strikes that give us at least a 60% probability of winning. So let me show you what this looks like. This is a trade I took back in 24, okay, DRI. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer, but this is the kind of graph I like to see, right? Lower left, upper right, it's moving up nicely. At the time, it was trading for about $203 a share, a little over that. So again, I think the stock is going to go up. When I think the stock is going to go up, I go beneath the stock and I sell a put. So I go into my broker and I start looking at puts between 21 and 45 days away. And pretty much every broker out there gives you a probability for that option. It's not something that's unique. It's not something that's proprietary. Pretty much every broker does this, okay? So the stock is trading at 203. If I went out and I sold this option right here at $200, I would give myself a 55% chance of making money because there's a 55% chance that the stock will stay above that pink line until the option expires about a month later. If I go down a little bit farther and I sell a 195 put, that's going to give me a 64% chance. Why? Well, look at the difference. I'm giving myself $5 more room. Now the stock can go up, sideways, all the way down to 195, and as long as it stays above that, I make money. Or I can get crazy and go down here at 185, giving myself an 80% chance to win. Now, let me ask you a question without knowing anything else about options. If I came to you from a trading perspective and said, hey, do you want to be 55% right, 64% right, or 80% right? Which would you choose? Knowing nothing else, just saying 80, 64, or 55. Type it in the chat for me. What would you choose knowing nothing else about options? William, yeah, 80%. 80%, Jeff. Eric, you're on the right track. But yeah, 80% Priyesh. Yeah, you guys were the first ones that chipped in, so I used you first. Now, I would want to be 80% too, but I know the other side of the coin here. Remember that graph I showed you of one bad apple blowing up and spoiling the whole bunch? That's what 80% does. Yes, you can be 80% right on the trade. Let's say you take 10 trades, you win 8. You make $1,000 on the 8 winners, okay? So 8 winners, $1,000, you made $8,000. But what if on the losers you lost $5,000? Now you got 2 losing trades where you lost 10. You just whacked all of those wins in 2 losing trades. That's what too much probability gives you, okay? I always explain it like this, right? Too much probability is like too much of most things in your life, right? Red wine. Red wine's good for you, right? But if you drink 6 bottles a night, your liver's probably going to explode. Water, 64 ounces a day, healthy. 600 ounces a day, probably going to kill you, right? Like anything, too much of something is usually bad. So if you remember, we talked about we're going to sell an option with around a 60% probability of winning. 60 to 70% is our comfort level. This is where we are stacking the odds in our favor enough and we're controlling the risk. We're controlling a trade to where we might make 1,000 if we're right, we might lose around 1,000 if we're wrong. So we're stacking probability and we're controlling our risk. So this trade was done at 195. This was a real trade I took. Now this trade, if you didn't know it, it's called a bull put spread. Bullish because you're bullish. So it's something you do when you're bullish on a stock or a market, right? Puts because you're using puts. I'm selling a 195 put. I'm buying a 190 as insurance. Spread because there's $5 between the two strikes. 195, 190. It's called a bull put spread. And this gives us plenty of premium to make, gives plenty of cushion to be wrong. Beautiful. Now, that built-in protection plan, your true risk is only about 98 bucks per options contract. So let's see how this thing worked out. Now, when I place these trades, I place them to make a maximum of about $1,500. So my goal is to make about $750 before commission. So what happens here is this. I get into the trade, and you can kind of see with my laser pointer, I got into the trade right here. The stock went up, came down a little bit, went right back up, and right here, I was able to exit the position and make my $700 and some dollars. How do I make the money? Well, when you sell an option, you get paid. When you exit the options, you're going to pay back. So in this case, I pay back about 50% of the premium I received, and I profit the rest. Took about 2 weeks. Remember, the average trade is about 7 to 10 days. Now, when the market is bearish, we're going to focus on bearish trades. So this is an example. Back when I did this trade, the market overall was bearish. The stock of Target was bearish. Look at the difference here. It broke down below support. It's moving from upper left to lower right. It's an ugly, ugly stock. Now, this was a couple years ago, by the way. Now, Target at the time was trading for about 131. I'm going to basically do the same thing here. The only difference is I'm going to do it in the opposite direction. I think that the stock is going to go down. So in turn, I'm going to go up above the stock. I'm going to look at my options, and I'm going to get some probabilities. If I sell a 135 option, I have a 64% chance of making money because there's a 64% chance we'll stay below that pink line to expiration. If I sell B at 140, I have a 76% chance. That means the stock has to stay below this price, that pink line, before expiration. And again, it only has to do it for about 7 to 10 days, mind you. If I go all the way up to here at 145, I can get 85%. But again, 85% comes with a lot of, risk reward question marks. So let me ask you, based off of this, which one would you pick? Type in the chat box for me. Which one you would pick? Play the Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do. Jason, you're first. You're at 76%. William, you're at 76. Ken, you're at 85. Prius, you're at 64. Okay, now you guys are starting to really fly in there. 64, 64, 76, 76. All right. First off, 85% is too much, right? Remember, 85% is going to be one of those trades where you might make $1,000, but then you're going to lose 5. Can't have that risk. Too much risk on the table. For those of you that said 76%, you are correct. For those of you that said 64%, you're also correct. You, in this example, could have done either option. Both of them are greater than 60%, right? Now, why 76% in this example? 76% in this example for one reason. Remember earlier we talked about option volatility. When the volatility is really high, the premium gets really high. And when the premium gets high, we can use even more probability. That's an example of this. The premium was really high. Target back then was in the news. They had all those crazy things going on in their stores and things. I don't want to get political, but whatever. It's a stock that was going down. But there was a lot of news around Target, right? Stock was getting hyped. Premiums were insane. Because of that, we were able to do this trade with a little more probability. Now, this trade is called a bear call spread. Bearish, because it's something you do when you're bearish on a stock. Calls, because we do with calls now. When we're bearish, we sell a call above the price of the stock. Then we buy a call above the price of that as our protection. The bear call spread. Now, this stock actually kind of went sideways for the most part. It went sideways for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. That's 7 calendar days. I say 7 to 10 calendar days for this. That's trading days, sorry. And the stock went down a little bit. But in that move, it was enough to make me my $750 some in that trade. That's all it had to do. That's it. Now, if you were selling the 135 option, by the way, you'd have also made money there as well. So whether you did the 135 at 64% or the 140 at 70, whatever it was, Either way, that trade still makes money. It's a good trade. It's a good options play in that part. Now, listen, if you don't understand all the mechanics right now, it's okay. You're going to be learning not just how to trade options, you're going to create a future where your income grows without adding hours to your day. You're going to learn this. Another client I worked with is Jim. He said prior to working with me, he told me his results were inconsistent and he felt unsatisfied. He kept thinking that there had to be something else out there that he was missing, right? Something better. You ever felt that way? Like there's something more out there, you're just not seeing it? Jim said he wanted a way to supplement what he was doing and would provide more regular income and have a higher probability of success. He said that after learning the system, okay, of being an option seller, he told me he had 21 winners in a row and returned 76% in about 8 months. And his average trade lasted 8 days. Can you imagine how that must feel to be going inconsistent where all your trades are generating income? Well, that was Jim. What about you? What would an income system like this allow you to do? Do me a favor. Type in the answer in the chat box. If you were able to put 100 grand into this and create $3,000 a month in extra income, what could that do for you? Heck, 50,000, $1,500 a month. Even if you start with 10,000 and it adds another $300 to your balance a month, what would an income system like this allow you to do in your own life? Okay. First one right off the bat, travel more. Everybody wants to travel. I don't know. I traveled a lot when I was doing lecturing when I was younger. I'll be 50 next month, so I'm not that old. But I don't know, man. My traveling days are over. I hate getting on airplanes. Help your kids with their college. Right. That's expensive. It's not like it used to be, man. I have a niece that's going to college this year, and we were talking about that. My wife and I were talking about how, my wife worked like 3 jobs and paid for her own college. We both went to Ohio State for the first part. She went to Ohio State for all 4 years. But back when I went to Ohio State in 1994, it was $1,600 a quarter. So things have changed much. But yeah, definitely an extra income stream for that. No question whatsoever, right? You know? So yeah, 1,500 a month allow you to retire and take Social Security. That's beautiful. We don't have to watch the market all day. And that's one of the biggest things I don't like to do. I don't like to watch the market all day. So nice. Pay for the kids' activities. Buy flowers for my wife every day. Retire ASAP, right? Yeah, definitely. All right. So we said before that buying is gambling, selling is all about controlling risk and putting God's success in your favor to generate income. The options paycheck system makes sure you have a guaranteed maximum risk. And it all goes back to whether you'd rather be the gambler or the casino. Keep in mind, the house always wins in the end. Being an option seller is the way you can make consistent income and allow you to do it safer and with a higher probability of success than just simply buying and selling stocks. Now, let's put this together. I want to show you how you can have that bulletproof system that you can do in as little as 15 minutes a day. My students who have implemented this system told me this is the most important thing they've learned. Why? Because one of the biggest things people ask me is how much time is it going to take me? And that's a great question. Well, here's the challenge. There's thousands of stocks out there. You got to find how to pick the right stock, the right strategy, when you get in, what expiration, what price, if it goes against you, when to get out. And if it feels like I'm telling you a big run-on sentence, I kind of am. Because sometimes it feels like you're trying to find a needle in the haystack. There's so much out there that you have to look at or may think you have to look at. You don't know where to look. You're spending hours putting your trades together, going from guru to guru, watching CNBC, reading IBD. You're trading blindly. You're like a mouse running through a maze, bumping into wall after wall. You don't know where to go. It's stressful. It's disheartening. But with the right system, you can identify good trades and get reliable income in as little as 15 minutes a day. And if you think you're too busy, remember, time is your most valuable resource. And this requires just as little as 15 minutes a week or a day if you want to trade some stocks too. It's designed to give you back control of your time and money. Imagine what that could do with your freedom. Now, to get that, though, you need a system, and not just any system, a straight line system, a simple way to know when to place your trades, how to find your trades, how to set them up, how to manage them. So let me walk you through the steps of the options paycheck system. Step number 1 is market direction. Market direction is something that a lot of traders ignore. They just go out and start placing trades. I think this is going to go up, this is going to go down. You're going to be placing trades that are either bullish or bearish, but in accordance with market direction. Today, I showed you an example of each, right? I'm placing right now nothing but bullish trades in my active trading account that I'm trading with my clients. If the market were to turn bearish, I would start placing bearish trades. you're going to narrow your focus. So instead of looking at all the scenarios, you're going to look at each one individually. Now, to do that, you need a timing signal. We have a timing signal built into the options paycheck system. That's going to tell you what the market direction is. Once you have that, you're going to go to stock selection. Okay, you're going to want to select stocks that are highly likely to move in the same direction of the market. So just trading the stocks you know or listening to the gurus on TV, it's not the best choice for this. What you want to do is find good stocks already in uptrends when the market's rising, bad stocks that are in downtrends when the market is falling. And we save a lot of time in two ways. We're going to look at fundamentals and we're going to look at price trend. We have pre-built searches in the VectorVest platform that we use instead of digging through all the data the institutions throw at you. Now, once you have a list of stocks, you want a way to select the best ones for option trading. Now, earlier, we looked at how big of an effect volatility had on an options price. We're going to focus our selling on options with volatility in the upper end of the range, but we don't stop there. To take even more risk out of the trade, we filter out those with upcoming earnings and we make sure that expiration is in that 21 to 45 day sweet spot. Now, you can use tools from a broker to help. We happen to have a proprietary search, which is going to help us find these in really a matter of seconds. Now, it's time to set up your trade. We're going to pick the one that gives us the highest probability of success based on the individual strike prices while we manage the right risk to reward. So when I say the right probability, it's not going to be 80%. Sometimes it might be 65. Sometimes it might be 62. Sometimes it might be 70. It's all going to be based on the risk reward of the trade. Okay? We want to make sure you have the best possible risk to reward ratio. Now that you got your trade set up, before you actually go out and place it, you need to know what to do if the trade goes for you or against you. I don't want you sitting in a trade feeling frozen like a deer in the headlights because you don't know what to do. Our options paycheck system has rules to take profits at predefined levels. You set this up in advance with your broker. If a trade goes against you, we have an adjustment strategy that can help you bring in more income to minimize the loss. We also, if the trade goes against you, know exactly when to exit a trade. We can set that up. We do it automatically, unemotionally, every single time. Lastly, you want a way to do it quickly. You don't want to be out there spending all day on the process. You need a tool that allows you to do these things. It should be something comfortable you're using, right? Some brokers have tools that are way better than others. You might find some paid tools to be effective. For example, we used our proprietary tool from VectorVest called Options Pro. Saves me a lot of time. Now, speaking of time, earlier we talked about Mike and Jim. Each of them, they said they're getting the results in about 15 minutes a day. Well, so is Hugh. And he actually told me one of his biggest struggles was finding a system that was efficient and worked. He didn't have the proper balance between trading and free time. He was retired, and he didn't have that proper work-life balance, if you will, even as retired, right? But are you like that too? Do you spend too much time doing things you don't want to do, not enough time doing the things you want to? Now that Hugh learned the options paycheck system of selling options, he has more confidence, more free time. He's able to have more fun. In his first 43 trades, he said he had 38 winners and returned over $26,000 in 4 months. Now, I want you to do this. I want you to take your pen. I want you to put a little check mark next to the part of your system where you're already pretty good. For example, if you already have a way to find stocks likely to go in the direction of the market, then put a little check mark there. But if there's something that isn't working or maybe you need a little bit of work, put an X. For example, if you don't know how to manage, repair, trade, put an X down there. Don't overthink it. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to give yourself a check or an X on each of those spots. So again, what areas do you need to work on? Oops, I'm getting my question box all kinds of messed up. All right, I see all four or all five. Well, really, it's all six. You're leaving out the trade one. I see options down. Okay, I see the whole system. Ken, you mentioned, right? I see again. I see options down. So a lot of you, it looks like you're pretty comfortable trading. Looking at the markets, looking at stocks, but it looks like some options work. Now, here's the thing. This is what I see with most investors. You got a couple of checks, but you got a couple of X's too, right? And the X's are where mistakes happen. That's where people guess, and that's where results get inconsistent. So if you've got even one X on your list, here's the good news. It's not that you can't do it. It's that you don't have a complete step-by-step process you trust. And that's exactly what the Options Paycheck experience is built to solve. So listen, I don't know what your exact reason for coming to today's webinar is, but I'm going to make some guesses. Maybe you felt like you're trading blind. You're bouncing from one idea to the next. You get a win, then you give it all back because there's not a consistent process. Maybe you've had inconsistent results. You make some money, but then giving it all back on your next trade. Maybe you've had loss after loss. Even those small losses, though, they add up and it drags on your confidence. Or maybe you're doing okay, but you know you're not where you want to be and you want a clearer plan that you can actually repeat. You saw it's possible to win more even if you're wrong. You saw that you can do with very little risk. It's even less risk than buying and selling stocks. You saw the system to get consistent income with options. And I showed you just a few of the many people who use the system every day so they never have to worry about retirement again. You saw over and over the secret to generating your consistent income is that shift from being the gambler to the casino. The casino doesn't need to win every hand. They just need a process that stacks the probabilities over time. And now hopefully you see the game differently. And that's going to put you ahead of most investors because most people will keep doing what we talked about. They'll buy options the risky way. They'll guess. They'll manage trades emotionally. You can't stop that. And honestly, you don't need to. As long as there are people willing to take the other side of bad bets, there will be opportunity for investors like you who do this with the right way, the right structure. That's what the options paycheck system is designed to do. It stacks probability in your favor with a repeatable process. And you saw from folks like Brian, Bruce, Bob, Jim, Hugh, John. It's not theory. People are using this kind of structured approach in real life. So the question should no longer be, can it work? It's, are you ready to make it work for you? So if you're like most people, you're wondering, how do I implement the paycheck system in my portfolio right now? Well, now you got your choice. Your opportunity cost, as they say in economics. Option number one is you can choose to do absolutely nothing and stay exactly where you are. Option two, you can do it alone. Try to piece it together using YouTube videos, some internet articles, trial and error, maybe some chat GPT. You may get there, but it's slower and tends to be more expensive through time and mistakes. Or let us just guide you through it. I'll walk you through each piece of the options paycheck system, including live support and implementation help. And that's what the options paycheck experience in 2026 is. The options paycheck experience is the most comprehensive program for generating consistent income using option spreads. It's an 8-week guided experience designed to take you from, I understand the idea to I can place and manage these trades with confidence. We built it around a simple 3-step progression. Simplify, multiply, and then implement it with support. And here's how this is going to work. Okay. We're going to start by simplifying the entire system by teaching you the base trade on a single symbol, the SPX. This is the index that tracks the S&P 500. So you can place your first confident paycheck trade without feeling overwhelmed. No stock selection, none of that stuff. The goal after the first 2 weeks is for options to no longer feel like a foreign language and for you to place your first SPX trade using a simple weekly system. Then we're going to teach you how to multiply the base trade and apply the same clear rules to carefully selected stocks. This is going to give you more opportunities, but not more complexity. The goal after weeks 3 and 4 is that you're going to understand the full paycheck process and feel ready to begin practicing it with live trades. Then we're going to spend an entire month placing live trades together so you can implement the system on your own with confidence. You're going to get live trading sessions twice per week, and you see the system applied step by step. The goal here is for you to feel completely comfortable with the rules from start to finish. You're going to know exactly how to place trades on your own. And throughout the whole program, you've got support in our all-new course room, along with replays of all of our live events if you can't attend. So here's a recap of everything you get when you enroll. You're going to get the Options Paycheck Experience core training. That's 8 step-by-step modules, assignments, quizzes, slides, cheat sheets, more, everything. In addition to that, you're going to get the Mastery Package. These are 8 live sessions during weeks 1 through 4, where we're going to help you simplify and multiply, as we talked about a moment ago. Plus, you get a private student email. That's going to give you direct access to our Options Paycheck team. You're going to get access to both powerful VectorVest and the Options Pro software from weeks 1 through 8. Additionally, you're going to get the implementation month. You're going to get live trading sessions with me twice per week. I'll walk you through the process step by step on real trades. That's going to help you implement the system. You're also going to get, as part of this, our SPX Fast Start Paycheck System. That includes training videos, weekly trade recordings of my actual SPX trades every week, and also we created a 24/7 course room. This is where we're going to do all of our training. You're going to be able to interact with the instructors and your fellow students, ask questions, get peer support. Plus, you get the step-by-step trading checklist, our trade tracking spreadsheet, full replays if you can't attend a live session. This isn't just information. This is guided implementation. Now, this is for serious investors who want a rule-based approach and are willing to follow a process. It's not for gamblers. It's not for people looking for a get-rich-quick scheme. This is for serious people who take their investing seriously and who are willing to do the work to get the results. Here's what I hear from students again and again. Jake said, I learned more about options in this class and I have 30 years reading and studying on my own. Perry said, it taught me the correct way to trade credit spreads, which I have never had anyone else teach me. Kevin said, I've made enough to pay for the course in just a couple of trades. And listen, you're also backed by our 100% money back guarantee. You can go through the entire course. And if you're not satisfied we taught you how to profit using options, just notify us within a week of finishing the course. You get all your money back. It's no risk. All we ask is you give it your best effort. Come to the classes, watch the recordings, do the assignments. We know if you do, you will see the results. If you don't do the work, you won't be eligible for a refund. Now, the reason we have such a refund policy like this is because I only want to attract those who are excited to jump in, do the work, and get the results. Now, the total value of the course and all the bonuses is over $5,000, but between now and May 5th, we've discounted the course, and for those of you here live today, we have an additional discount. So since you spent about an hour with me today, here's what I want to do just for you. If you order before the end of the webinar today, instead of paying $12.95, you can get it for $9.95. That means you get the full course, 1 year access to the course materials, the mastery package, 8 weeks of Options Pro and VectorVest if you don't have them, the implementation month, all for $9.95. The $9.95 price will be only for those who register before we finish up. Once we finish, the price goes back up to $12.95. So if you're ready to order, you just go to www.optionspaycheck.com. Now ask yourself, what's it going to cost you not to do this? How much money are you going to lose by learning by trial and error? How much potential profit are you going to miss out on? How much time and energy are you going to spend trying to do this on your own? And then ask yourself, how would your life be different if you did it and it worked? You know, there's a saying that the best time to plant an oak tree is 20 years ago, so you could be sitting under it now enjoying the shade. Do you know when the second best time is? It's today. You're not too late to begin to prepare yourself for retirement and learn to generate income. This is going to be one of those deciding days in your life. Is it going to be the day you decide to take action and set yourself up for a secure retirement? Or is it going to be the day you look back on where you squandered an amazing opportunity to create a consistent income stream? I hope you don't regret the decision you make. Don't miss this opportunity. I look forward to working with you in class. So again, go to www.optionspaycheck.com, get yourself registered. That $9.95 price is only available while we're live in the webinar. After the webinar, the price goes up to $12.95. Registration actually closes on May 5th at 10 a.m. So go to www.optionspaycheck.com. I think I added an extra W in there. Don't do that. That's the beauty of a live seminar, right? Get to make all those errors. Fill in your details. And again, if you know this is right for you, let me know in the chat box. Let me know. Now, before we get to the Q&A, I want to share just a few comments that we got back from the students of our last class. This is just our last one that we did. We made significant improvements during the last class, and here's what some students said in the chat during our session. Gary, my SPX trade, closed it open and paid for the cost of the course. Kenneth, I made $2,000 profit on an SPX. Roxana, thanks so much. This is one of the most progress I've made with options so far. Lamal, more than winning, fear of options is gone with this course. That could be you in 8 weeks. Roxana said, before I took the course, I struggled with too many possibilities with option strategies and that I've trained for the last 5 years. I struggled with fear and uncertainty. After taking the course, I've had several great results. I have more confidence and less fear surrounding options trading. Definitely more understanding of how credit options work. I've had all winning trades, some by accident, I don't understand, but still a winning trade. I would definitely recommend the course. You'll be trading at least the SPX easily within a month. The live sessions for sure were one of my favorite parts of the course. I also love the course room, that's new, that allowed me to have an open chat with others in the course. Being from another country allows us to help each other with brokerage issues and more. If you live in Canada, don't worry. Other Canadians take the course too, so you will have peer support. Charles mentioned, before I took the course, I struggled with too many possibilities with option strategy. It was very hard to boil it down to a best few. After taking the course, I placed several SPX trades and I know what I'm doing. I would definitely recommend the course. It's a great starter course with defined strategies. It's well worth the money. You could easily pay for the course in a couple of months. I love Ron's humor and that he kept a good, fun environment. As a retiree, this course helped me focus on income strategies with defined risk. I appreciate the answers and coaching in the live room. I'm going to send that one to my wife. She doesn't think I have a sense of humor. Definitely going to see that one. Christine says, I would definitely recommend the course. Ron's an amazing teacher and explains things so well. The platform is great. The resources are incredible. I have to say, presenting the SPX trade at the beginning, that's something new we started, is a brilliant idea. For anyone wanting to get extra income or worried about running out of money in retirement, at least learn the credit spreads on the SPX. If Brian's daughter can do it, anyone can. Don't wait. Take the course. The terms and concepts may be foreign at first, but don't give up. Familiarity, patience, practice, believe in yourself, and you can succeed. I now feel very empowered. I know I can do this. With practice and patience and optimism, I'll succeed. Ron, thank you so much for being an amazing teacher that you are. I'm so glad I joined VectorVest years ago. I love the SPX trade. I'll keep it over and over, add it over and over. I look forward to my retirement next year. Thank you. Thanks to you and your OPE, I know I can be financially independent for the rest of my life, and that's an incredible feeling. Thank you. I read these for the first time in our last sales session we did, a couple hours ago. Wow, I was just so like, wow. Now, before we get to the Q&A, I do want to kind of lay out the times of the class. The class starts officially on May 5th. This is when you're going to get access to that week of access to VectorVest and Options Pro. If you sign up for the course tonight, you're going to get all of the materials. The software starts with the live course. However, okay, you can start reading the materials now. We're going to get together at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on May 5th for a welcome session, just to kind of set the expectations of what we do, tell you where everything's at, and then on Wednesday, May 6th, we're jumping right into with our first mastery session. So between now and May 6th, I would want you to watch Module 1. Between now and May 7th, I'd want you to watch Module 2. In the mastery sessions, we're going to get together. We're going to discuss the key principles. We're going to do the quizzes together. We're going to do the action items, all that stuff that we need to do. And then you can see throughout the month of May, Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to meet at 4:30 to do the live masteries. We got the SPX week 2, modules 3, 4, 5, and 6, week number 3, and 7 and 8, week number 4. So in May, we're going to teach you all of the things you need to know, and that gets us ready for June, where it is live implementation. We're going to do 2 live trading sessions with you a week, Tuesdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, some of you might say, Ron, how can we live trade Tuesdays at 4:30 after the market's closed? It's a good question. We are still going to trade. I know a lot of you won't be able to trade during the day. So I set that session to show you how you can find stocks at night and place orders for the very next day. So I'll show you how to find opportunities at night as well. Then on Fridays at noon Eastern Time, we do live trading while the market is open. The only exception is the 3rd week of the month. The markets are closed for Juneteenth. Live trading is at 12 that day, so it's going to be Thursday that week, and then we go to Friday, the last week of the course. Okay, so that's the schedule. Now, those live events, by the way, they are all recorded. So don't worry about it. Don't freak out if you can't view the live ones. Over the course of doing this options paycheck experience over the last 10 years here at VectorVest, I'd probably say 30% of the people who sign up for this may only see 1 or 2 sessions live. They watch them completely through the recordings, and it's perfectly fine. So if you can't do the live, don't worry. The recordings are available pretty much instantaneously in the course room. You'll be able to watch the recordings quick. So again, if you are interested, if you are ready, order before the end of the webinar. Get that bonus, $9.95, until tonight's session ends. Sign up now. Get yourself ready. Have a great summer of income trading. Have a great fall. It's not too late. Get started now. Optionspaycheck.com. Get yourself signed up. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to bring in my colleague, Brian. He and I are going to do a Q&A session. He'll cover some things, and we'll answer any questions that you have left over.
All right, great. Hey, Ron, can you hear me all right?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, beautiful. All right, lots of great questions in the chat and interest in the course. So those of you who are in, welcome aboard. I don't know why I said that. It's probably because Kenneth in the chat says, I'm on a cruise ship right now.
Nice.
And I just felt like a cruise director. But so shout out to you, Kenneth, in the chat.
Jealous.
I think he said, I just crossed the... he just crossed past Hawaii, I think it was.
Nice.
Is that right, Kenneth? So if you are in, welcome. and check your email, because we would have sent you an email with all the details, because that email will have your directions to get into the course. You could start going through the course material tonight, right now. All right. And you could get a head start on the live sessions. Some people even start going through the course material right away. And I don't know if we had it in today's session, but I know there was one person who said that they started going through and placed their first winning SPX trade before the class even started. Not that you have to do that. We don't, not that we would recommend it. I mean, you can if you want to. The trade is simple enough that you could do it if you wanted to. But you have my main point is you can start going through the course tonight and get in there. So that's in the email. Access to the new coaching room, or the course training room, is linked in there as well. We recommend you could pop in there and start interacting. Just keep in mind, we just opened up registration today, so there's going to be more and more people who get into that room over the next couple of weeks. And of course, once class officially starts, that's when we'll get a lot more activity in there and you'll start talking to everybody. All right, so those are two things. And another housekeeping item, the $9.95 is good while we're live, which is good for a little bit. We'll show you a timer in just a minute. I do want to mention this. We do have some people in the room who have taken the course before. I believe it was Catherine was in one of your testimonials there, Ron, as she had in her full letter to us had mentioned that she took it 7 years ago, I believe was what she had said. And the reason I bring that up is if you are in the same position where you've taken this course years ago and for whatever reason you want a refresher, you want to just go through it all over again, maybe reinvigorate yourself or see how we changed the course this year, you can get a discounted rate. We call it the alumni pricing. It is $4.95. But for that, you either need to click on the link that we sent you via email, or you could just call our office, and the phone number we'll put into the chat. Maybe there it is. Todd just put it into the chat. It's 888-658-7638. And just let them know no, by the way, we did leave our phone lines open. Normally our office closes at 6 p.m. Eastern. They should still be open right now, where you can call and get this taken care of tonight, or you could just wait till tomorrow if you're an alumni, because your $4.95 rate is good until registration closes. But speaking of registration closes, once that day comes, which is May 5th, then we have to close registration for everybody, including alumni, because Ron has his first session that evening. And so we need to generate a list of people to make sure that everybody is alerted, because we send text message alerts, we send email alerts, trying to make sure that you can attend the live sessions. And one last housekeeping item before I have Ron do some show and tell. There's in the chat, I think it was also Kenneth. Kenneth had said that he was wondering if his all access pass that he purchased at VectorVest would allow him into the class. And the answer would be yes. For that, you also need to call the team or call or email, and just let them know. Okay. Woo. How about that, Ron? Some housekeeping. All right. So we've got, you ready for some show and tell?
I am.
All right, folks. I put a link into the chat, which is optionspaycheck.com. When you click on it, it'll bring you to a page that looks like what Ron's showing there. There's a countdown timer on there, so you know about how much time you have left for the discounted $9.95 rate. It'll go to $12.95 when the countdown timer hits 0. But if you click on Enroll Now, I did want to point one thing out. When you go here and you click Buy Now and Save, it's going to bring you to a page, and if it's your first time there, it'll ask you for your email address. Now, since Ron has already signed in, it knows who he is. If it is your first time there, it'll ask you for your email. Type in your email. And then when you hit enter, if your email is associated with a VectorVest account, which for a lot of you who are VectorVest members, it will be, it'll give you a message saying, oh, hey, that email already exists. Click here to sign in. and all you have to do is click there and sign in. And that way it'll put this course on your existing VectorVest account. All right. You don't want to create a brand new account just for this course. You're going to use your VectorVest account. And then once you do, you're into the course. And like I said, you have instant access to all the materials, all the videos, all the quizzes, all the cheat sheets, everything. And I usually pass it over to Ron because I think it's interesting. And if you're going to spend $1,000, wouldn't you like to see what you're going to get other than just hearing Ron tell you about it? So if Ron just, he's going to do a little show and tell and show you what it looks like on the inside of the course.
All right. So when you sign up for the course and you get to our university site, this is what it's going to look like for the Options Paycheck experience. Everything is over on the left. This is kind of like our table of contents, if you will. We got some welcome videos on the top part here. One of the things I would definitely do is print out the course curriculum checklist. It's just going to make sure you go through everything properly. Here's the live class schedule. So I know one of the biggest things is, when are the live classes again? Well, you can just go to this link right here and it'll tell you when all the live classes are. They're all listed there. And then there's a link to our live course room, which we have open for when the class starts. Below that, these are all of our modules. Now, all of the modules are made the same way. They start with recorded lessons. So there's usually between like 1 and 5 lessons in each of the module. You're going to watch all of the recorded sessions before the mastery session. Then we're going to review them together, answer any questions that you have. Basically, make sure that you're ready to advance to the next module. So each module has lessons. They have a quiz area where you can take some quizzes just to make sure that you got their answers right. We're going to usually do that in the mastery session with you as well. We have the action item walkthrough. Every module will have an action item for you. You can do those in Options Pro. You can do those in your broker software to start getting familiar with that. Anything, do the action items. We got a walkthrough video for the action items. We'll do the action items in the mastery session. We're going to make sure that you know how to do this. So every module is basically built the same way, all through module number 8. Then as you scroll down, you're going to see a section for the live class recordings. The nice thing about the course room is you can access the archives like within 10 minutes after we exit the live session. But we also copy them over here within 24 hours. You can watch all the live class recordings. A little bit lower for the first, well, not the first 4, but for weeks like 2 through 4, actually maybe 2 through 8, I'll record my live SPX trade with you guys. And then this is the one I do in my course, and I'll show you the video of it. You're going to get Options Pro starting the week of the live curriculum in May. There's some tutorials how to use it. I've also put together some broker help videos. So, if you're using a broker, trying to find where probability is or finding their option chain, that kind of stuff, I put together some videos for some of the brokers like Thinkorswim, E-Trade, IB, Ally, and Fidelity. That's pretty much how you go through the entire curriculum. And then under resources, this is where you can find all of the printed stuff. So if you want to print out the slide that I used for module 1, you can print them out in color or black and white, the worksheets for the action items. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll have an area where you can download our trading checklist and our spreadsheet and all that stuff. So that's where you're going to be able to download all of the materials to your computer. But that's what it looks like.
Thanks, Ron. And if you have any questions in the chat, just let us know. We'll be sure. We have no problem answering whatever questions you got about the course. There was a slide that Ron showed, which had actual screenshots from students who just finished the class. And I bring that up because those students 8 weeks earlier were in your shoes right now. Many of them were thinking, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I'm excited. I want to do it, but I don't know. Like Roxana said, that she had never been placed a trade. I think it 5 years in the making, and this was the first time that she was able to do it. And then you saw the comments. Like Gary had said that he had closed his SPX trade and it paid for the cost of the course in that 8 week time period. So we put that in there. We want you to understand that we want that to be you 8 weeks from now. It is possible. And I shared this with some students or some people earlier who were in a webinar with Ron. and Ron heard it for the first time this afternoon, that we just interviewed one of our members yesterday. I wish I had time to actually get you the video and put him into today's session. His name is Amin, and he's 84 years old. He went through the options paycheck, not this past class, but he had done it previously. And at this point, he's now, of course, retired. He trades stocks. He has a dividend portfolio, but he wanted to share with us that the options paycheck is a big part of his income strategy. He said he's making about $2,000 a month from the SPX trades. That's it. He just does the SPX trades, and it's a big part of his income stream. So I bring that up because number one, he's 84 years old. So if you're thinking, oh man, it's, I can't learn this, I'm too old, or if you're thinking that you're too young, and I taught my 14-year-old how to do this, and now this was many, many years ago, but you all can do it. But you got to put in some time to actually learn it. Okay, so that was exciting to listen to that yesterday afternoon. All right, other items, Ron. You had mentioned the live sessions.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of them. Somebody might look at that and say, "Oh, jeepers! I mean, that's a lot of classes, Ron. I can't make all those classes, and if I can't make a class, I'm going to fall behind, and it's going to be a waste of money." So, what would you say to somebody who's worried about, man, I can't make all those classes?
You don't have to. That's the thing. I mentioned earlier that probably 30% of the people that sign up for the course never come to a live event. They just watch the recordings. The nice thing about the course room now is you can get pretty much instantaneous feedback by asking questions whenever you want. So, yeah, we got plenty of folks that have gone through the course without any issues, where they just watch the recording. So, we record everything we do live. You'll be in good shape. I wouldn't worry about it at all.
All right. And Rose just asked, is the start date May 5th?
Yep.
Yeah,
May
for
5th.
live classes, yes.
Yep. That's the first live session.
Yep. But your start date could be today, Rose. You could get in there and start going through the training today. Now, understand that the software access to that VectorVest Options Pro software, we start that at the beginning of May when the class starts, or right in that first week. But other than that, you can get in, and everything that Ron just showed you, you'll be able to get in there and watch those videos and download the checklists and the cheat sheets and all that. All right. Of course, if you have additional questions, let us know in the chat. But one quick note, I mentioned my 14-year-old daughter. I am now at the location where I taught her, and I'm opening up the drawer. I'm trying to look and find her spiral bound notebook, but she gave it to me. It was one of those kid notebooks. I think it was Hannah Montana, or it had a puppy on it or something. But this was, I don't know, she's 23 now, this 14, so it's a long time ago, right in the first year or two when we put out this course, before we had all the fancy spreadsheets and checklists and everything that you have now. She just wrote down the rules of how to do an SPX trade. She said, all right, look for this market signal, pick this strike price, pick this expiration. And she just wrote down every step in her notebook. And then I sat her down at the desk, and she just followed the notes from her notebook and placed an SPX trade in my account, but she didn't have her own trading account at the time. But man, it's especially the SPX is that simple that you could do it. All right. Now, Ron, let me ask you this. There's questions about brokers, because there's, of course, people in Canada who use Quest Trade. There's people in the US who use Schwab or use Fidelity or Robinhood or whatever. What would you say is the people who are saying, is there a broker you like the best? Can any broker do this? What is your conversation about brokers?
Yeah, really, I don't know of a broker nowadays that doesn't have, the stuff that you need to trade options. Even Robinhood, their platform now has all the stuff that you need. So no, I really don't know of any platform that doesn't have all the materials that you're going to do. I would say, I'm a Thinkorswim guy. I like Thinkorswim. I've been using them for a long time. Of course, it was TD Ameritrade, then it was Schwab, but I still use that platform. It's one of my favorite ones. It's got all the things in there I like. But some people think that's too complicated, so they use other platforms. I've used Fidelity. That works great. I've used E-Trade. So honestly, it doesn't make a difference. It's whatever you're comfortable using at the end of the day.
All right, and just a quick story. If you're worried about time or needing to watch the market all day, there was somebody who earlier typed into the chat, Ron, when you were saying, what would this extra income allow you to do? And one person had said, it would allow me not to have to watch the market all the time.
Mm.
It reminded me of how I was on vacation at Disney and following the rules that you teach in the course. When I could place a trade very simply on Monday, and then just walking around Disney, a trade went against me. Yes, folks, that does happen, even to us. It's not 100% winners, by the way. I was just walking around and I get an alert that just says, hey, this option needs to be closed. I was able to just open up the app on my phone, and within a couple of taps, I was able to exit the trade, because the way that Ron shows it, you have an order that's sitting there, and then you just have to tap on it, modify it with a couple of taps, and then send it. And then continue on with Disney or wherever you are. So that great thing about the way Ron teaches it. All right. I feel like I'm missing. I'm looking in the chat. There's a few more questions that came in. William says Miley Cyrus has certainly gone a long way from Hannah Montana.
Yeah, that's true story. Right.
Yep. Yep, she's not Hannah Montana anymore, is she? All right. Yet Robert says, so if there's a rules-bound system, the Excel spreadsheet with the rules forms embedded, that would help automate the system. Yeah, so that it was funny, Robert and Ron, you probably remember this, that we got feedback from our last class. We just got the surveys back about a week or two ago. And we had one person say, hey, can't you automate this spreadsheet? Like let AI do it all. And then we had several other people say, I love the spreadsheet. It kept me organized. It kept me focused. So the spreadsheet, even though you might say it's old school, but even Ron uses the spreadsheet now. Ron, is that a fair statement? You were never the spreadsheet type of guy?
I hate spreadsheets. I always hated spreadsheets. But yeah, I now have a spreadsheet for basically every trade that I do. I've got my options, paycheck spreadsheet, and it kind of. I'll just give you guys a brief preview. It looks like this. So all of the trades that I place, I mark all the trades out. You can see like we did a lot of bullish trades this year. Then there was a period where we did a lot of bearish trades. But I write down all my trades that I do. You know, I have a spreadsheet for this. I have a spreadsheet for covered calls. I have a spreadsheet for buy rights. I have a spreadsheet for my calendar trades. Yeah, I become a spreadsheet crazy person too.
And the spreadsheet is cool, right? Because it's not just about tracking your trades. Those of you who are new to the system, if you go left to right across the spreadsheet, it's guiding you through the trading process.
It does all the math for you. Like you put in how much money you're going to trade. It'll tell you how many contracts. You put in the loss of the trade. It'll tell you if it's too much risk. It's really cool.
All right. Well, with that, it looks like that was the last comment / question from Robert. And so to save us from talking about Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana, I think I'm excited to begin this with a new batch of all of you starting in a couple of weeks. So remember, registration closes May 5th. $9.95 price is good until we wrap up here. The price will go up to $12.95. If you are an alumni or an alumnus, the price is $4.95. You have to call and get that discounted rate. Other than that, I'm going to pass it over to you, Mr. Wheeler, to wrap up for the night.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you, Brian, for doing the MC as you always do. I appreciate that. And thanks to all of you for attending. I know it's an hour and a half of your time, and I know that time is valuable. So I appreciate it and hope you learned a great deal about options and creating income. And more importantly, I hope that you're going to be joining me here in a couple weeks as we do this in May and June. This is kind of like, I always say that doing these classes live is like my Super Bowl because I love doing this and I love talking about it. So I hope that you'll be joining me here in a couple weeks. If you have any questions, give us a call at the office. Let us know. We'll walk you through it. We'll walk you through anything that you might have some fears or reservations of and get you in the right direction. So with that, I will bid you a fine good evening. Have a great rest of your month here. Summer starting, which is great. And hopefully that summer is going to start with you learning how to trade some options income. So with that, I'll bid you a fine good evening. And hopefully we'll see you in a couple weeks in the live options paycheck experience. Take care, everyone.